Hi, I'm Jeff Miller.
I'm Anthony Navarro, and welcome to Talk Out Loud, where we share the LGBTQIA+ narrative one story at a time. On this episode of Talk Out Loud, Akeem Woods shares what it's like to be a gay Black man who's a stand-up comedian. Los Angeles is home, but his joy is being out on tour, making people laugh across the country. Akeem tells us what it's like performing his act in small towns and what he's learned being on the road. You might be surprised on where his favorite cities are to perform at. Let's hear Akeem's story.
Akeem, thank you so much for coming over today, and definitely for bringing the Golden Girls with you as well, too.
Oh, yeah. One of my best friends just bought me this shirt yesterday.
It's super cute.
Yeah, I love it. I have a cute beanie as well, but it hasn't
You have a
came
Golden
in the mail
Girls
yet.
beanie?
I do, but it hasn't came in the mail yet. It's red. I ordered it on Amazon, but it won't be here till next week.
Oh, I love it.
I guess it's not considered an essential item right now.
Yeah, it is essential for me, but
Right, for the rest of the world.
yeah. Amazon says you have to wait a week, so we'll see what happens.
So what have you been doing with your time now?
With my time, I've been trying to be productive, but most days I am not. I've been trying to write more. I've been doing a lot of online content. Like I've been doing some videos. I've done a lot of Zoom shows. Trying to create more of a social media content. But I really hate social media. And I know I'm not supposed to say that, but it's never been my thing. I love live performance. I love like performing stand-up, obviously. But it just feels disingenuous when you do it, like when you make videos or whatever. It just all seems disingenuous. But I'm trying to get out of my head and still do it because obviously that's like the only thing that we can do right now is do that. So I've been writing sketches and filming online content and trying to be like relevant and productive as I can be while hating every moment of it.
Is it like part of it because there's no connection with the audience?
Yeah, like that's the whole reason why I love stand-up so much, because it's the only art form that I feel like is instinct. Like, you know, if a joke is funny immediately.
Right.
You get on stage, you tell the joke. If they laugh, it's funny. If they don't, it's not.
Right.
It's like so simple. It's hard to do, but it's in the form, it's simple.
Right.
And I've been doing it for almost 10 years now, and I just don't want to do anything else. Like, I worked for 10 years to be able to quit my job. I quit my job 4 years ago. I don't want to do anything else. Like, I don't want to do. I'm good. I'm doing okay with the social media stuff, and I had some videos that have gotten a lot of followings and a lot of likes and comments and views and all that shit. But that's not what I came to LA for.
Yeah. Totally.
So.
Well, there is something when you get that, like, it's like instant gratification, but then you're also like, you're able to connect with people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we met you. We saw you in one of your shows.
Yeah, so I miss that. I love traveling. I miss touring. Because I'm usually gone 6 months out of the year. Like, I'm on the road like 6 months out of the year, sometimes 7. And I miss traveling. I miss flights. I miss all that stuff. I even miss like the terrible parts of traveling. I miss all that. Like
what?
just random places like Indiana. Like I just
That's where he's from.
Yeah, well, it's not great, but I miss going to these places and meeting these people, and then because like when I get the tour, being an openly gay Black guy. When I get the tour, I'm like, a lot of these first time people have ever seen anyone that's gay or Black or both. So I get to meet a lot of people, and a lot of these times it's like I'm the first experience with it, and it's usually a good experience because I'm pretty good at my job. So I get to like connect with these people that we would never hang out, on the streets. Like I would unless I'm in a show. Like I was in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, and I did an hour there. This was like 2 years ago, and that was my favorite tour. Was in that city. It was such a small town city, and it was just a room full of just really old white people, and they loved me, and we got along really well. And it's like we never would have seen each other if it wasn't for me touring, doing comedy, because they just came to a bar to see a comedy show. Like they had no idea who I was. They saw my name, like, okay, there's nothing else to do in this town. They have one theater. Let's all go see this guy. And then we ended up having a great time. Like I didn't expect much from them, and I'm sure they didn't expect anything from me. And we both ended up having like they bought all my merchandise. I made a ridiculous amount of money. It was like a really, really dope time in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, which people have never heard of because it's not a town it's not a vacation point.
Right.
Except for they did something in Titanic, like something was filmed there or something. I don't know. Something they have something to do with Titanic that they kept telling me about that I didn't care about. But
Just kind of moved on.
yeah,
with that
but
one.
that's the part that I missed the most is like because you can't have that connection online. Like you can
Yeah.
post something, a funny video, and someone will see it and comment like, "Oh my god, this is really funny."
Yeah.
But it's just not the same. It's close, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
That's interesting because the way like the algorithms and stuff work, like it wants to suggest things, so it's almost homogenous.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing the same. So the fact that you get to have this experience with people that we normally not be with,
Yeah.
the internet really doesn't replicate that in the same
At all
fashion,
because
right?
because most of the time, like on as far as Facebook goes and Instagram, like most of the people who are following you, who you are following, are all like-minded people. So like whenever you could post whatever view you want, but most of the time, for the most part, unless it goes viral or whatever, but most of the people who are viewing your content, they're already a fan of yours. So they're not seeing anything new. But when you go on the road and you tour these random places, like just these random Springfield, Illinois, like you just tour these really random cities, those people would never go to see you, but you just happen to be in their town and there's nothing else for them to do. So they walk into a bar and like, oh, okay, let's listen to this dude for an hour.
It's so interesting because Anthony and I's the first time we saw you was at Gays R Us here in West Hollywood, which is it's an all LGBTQ cast, generally speaking, most evenings, once a month. And when I've watched some of your videos on social where you've had clips recorded when you've been on the road, at least from what I think this appears to be like maybe a small town like that. I love. At first, I'm almost kind of like clenching my teeth, like how's this going to go over?
Oh yeah,
right. The juxtaposition, but I there's something so special about what you do in those situations that is different than when we're sitting here with all of the people that are kind of expecting.
Yeah,
right?
So that's why I like doing. I don't mind doing the gay shows because I get to see a bunch of my friends.
Right.
I love the comics that I work with, and I love seeing other gay comics because there's not a lot of us in the industry, unfortunately, especially gay comics of color. Like there's like 7 of us, so like I like seeing it. I love working with them, but I'd love working the road more because then you not necessarily change people's opinion, but you're interacting with people that wouldn't have given you the time of day before.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that in my experience, in my life, like my forms and thoughts are based on my encounters with people in real life.
Yeah.
And so when I'm laughing and having a good time with somebody, and maybe I'm hearing from, maybe my thoughts has been like, oh, they're different than me, or we don't have anything in common.
Yeah.
There's something about like the humanity that takes place, like it's just like this intersection of life with each other. That you're creating.
It's so interesting. This is why I love it so much. Is because like most people, especially in the Midwest and the South and stuff like that, like they're so in the box, and all they see is like they see Fox News, and then they see what the media, what their outlets telling you. So they don't know they've never met they're not friends with any black people. They're not friends with any people of color, or they're not friends with any gay people. So all they have in their mindset is what the media tells them what gay black people are, what black people are, what gay people are. So they only have this set opinion on somebody. And then when they see me and I do my hour show and we interact and we're all laughing and we're all having a good time, then afterwards it's like, oh, that's nothing like what the media said it was. Like we thought it would be this weird thing. And it's like, nah, it's just. So then people get to see that we're human, and then that might change their mind subconsciously, even if it's not like a conscious thing, but like subconsciously that might be like, oh, okay, well maybe I should treat people differently because they're all people. In theory, that's what I like to think that's happening, or at least they're nice to me. So they could be terrible as soon as I leave, but in that moment, they're really nice to me. So I miss that part a lot. That's probably one of the things I miss most. And of course, the money was great. So I do miss having a steady income, or as steady as income as you can as a touring comic.
Yeah. Have you been able to pivot at all right now with any other projects or with any other shows?
So I've been working on like the online content. I've been doing a lot of online shows that have been paying well, and wildly in comparison, I guess. And I have merchandise that I sell, so I've been doing that. Me and my friend Mia, who bought me this dope ass Golden Girls jacket, we've been trying to write a pilot together on and off, but we've both just been so busy. So now we're trying to focus more on that. So there's a bunch of things I'm trying to focus on. Like my buddies, I've been doing like videos, and I'm trying to focus on a lot of stuff, but most of the day, it's like it's hard to be productive when like the whole world's on fire.
Yeah,
so
that's definitely true.
I can't even stop. I'm starting to laugh right now just thinking about it. your Hitch Sticks video.
Yeah, I did that. I did that with my buddy JB Ball. He just released a series of music videos, and I'm in a few of those as well. That was fun. I wasn't even gonna make that sketch, so I posted it. I posted the premise as a joke, and it got like 200 likes on Facebook or whatever. And then JB saw it, loved it, and he called me and he's like, "Yo, we should turn that into a sketch." I'm like, "Okay, I guess." And then the next day he emailed me and he was like, "Hey, this is my idea." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So then we sat down and I changed a bunch of stuff, and he's like, and we both just agreed on the format, and then we shot it. It was dope. It took us a while to shoot because we had to do social distancing, so we had to. It took probably a month for us to shoot all of it because we didn't want too many people in the room. Blah 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 blah. And that video was dope. It got like 12,000. It had like 12,000 views on Facebook, like 150 shares or whatever. And I got a decent amount of pictures too. I got like random people texting me dick pics, which was like hilarious.
So I think just so those people that have not seen this, the premise behind the concept.
So basically what happened is I was talking to my friend in Atlanta, and she was telling me she has a boyfriend. Oh, she has a dude that she's talking to, and she's like, "Well, we can't like meet, so we've been sexting." And it just sucks because dudes send the worst dick pics. And I'm like, "Oh no, baby, that's straight dudes," because I've been getting dick pics forever and they're amazing. And I didn't know that I really didn't think that there was that big of a difference. And then she sent me a picture of one of the dick pics that she got from the dude she's talking to. And I immediately called her like laughing. I'm like, "This is terrible. Like, why are they doing this?" And then it made me think of all this stuff. And then that's where and then I'm like, "Oh, that should be like a service." And then I posted it just as a joke, a throwaway joke. And then the joke got a lot of likes or whatever. And then my buddy called me. I was like, "Let's turn it into a sketch." And then we turned it into this like 2-minute sketch.
And in the 2-minute sketch, you put your real phone number.
Yeah, I put my real phone number because I have so much free time right now. I don't care. Yeah. I put my real phone number. I didn't get as many texts as I thought. But here's the thing: my number's been given out numerous times. My buddy Preacher's like kind of famous. He was on America's Got Talent. And he shared my phone number on his Instagram once, and I got like 150 calls and like 98 voice messages. So like, I don't care about people having my number. So yeah, I just gave it out on the sketch. Mm-hmm. It was like, whatever. Like, what are you gonna do with my number? So some of the texts have been interesting. Some of them have been really funny. I probably got like in total, I probably got like probably 25 texts or something, 25, 30 texts. Someone called me and I called them back and they like flipped out like, "Oh my God, I didn't think you'd call." I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is my number." She's like, "Oh my God, I'm going to send you money." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." And then she just sent me like $20 or something.
That's hilarious.
That's comedy in 2020 right there.
Yeah,
it totally is. I mean, it also, it goes to show you too. It's like you never thought that it was going to go any further than just like a post. And it's almost like, like brilliant ideas are sort of born and like just random, happening. So it's kind of interesting to see how that came together.
Yeah, I just try to post jokes online, and then if something comes from them, I'll make a video or whatever. I'm trying to be more. I was talking to my buddy Godfrey. I need to be more consistent. I need to post more videos. But it's just like people don't understand how much I just like doing it. Like they're fun and like they get a lot of views and like they're cool or whatever. But I don't like it. But I mean, you got to do shit you don't like, so I just need to do it more often.
Well, and this is fairly new as far as having to switch over to this platform.
Yeah. It's like, because before I would use social media like to promote my shows, and I would do videos every now and then, but I didn't need to do it. Like I was touring so much, so it didn't really matter. But now it's like, since no one can tour, it's like, okay, well, this is it. So this is like the only outlet that we have, unfortunately.
You said earlier you quit your job 4 years ago. You started out 10 years ago?
Yeah, I started on September 7th, 2010.
Oh, so you got an anniversary coming up.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, this is a great time for a 10-year anniversary. Yeah, September 7th, 2010 in Orlando. I started in Orlando at a place called Austin's Coffee, which is still around. It's like a really cool coffee shop in like Winter Park. And they had open mics on Sunday.
Winter Park's not too far from Orlando, is it?
It's all the same thing. Winter Park is Orlando, basically. People say it's not, but it is. It's fucking the same thing.
So what gave you, where did you get the inspiration, or what was the drive to start doing stand-up?
I was always like, as cliche it is, the funny kid in high school, but it's just, I always wanted to do stand-up. I just didn't know. I always wanted to do something in the entertainment business. And I just didn't realize that being funny was lucrative. Like, because I always wanted to do something, but I couldn't dance, I couldn't sing. And I always wanted to do something, but I just didn't know what it was. And then my senior year in high school, I was just like, oh wow, I should just do stand up. I just do that. I didn't realize that was a thing I can do, because it's like you don't see, if you don't see representation, if you don't see yourself represented, if I don't know if that's a word, then it's hard for you to see yourself as a career path. Like there were no gay black comics on TV.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, there's still like four.
Yeah.
So like, and I didn't come out till I was 5 years in. Like I started doing comedy 10 years ago, but I came out 5 years ago.
So that, just out of curiosity, I just want to pause there for a second. Knowing a lot of your comedy now.
Yeah.
What were you doing? I mean,
the thing is, I don't like when I do gay shows. I talk about being gay a bunch because it's like that's the show and that's what people want to hear about.
Yeah,
but I've been doing comedy before. I have a lot of jokes. I have a lot of jokes about my family. At the time when I first started, I talked to my family a lot. I've had like 20 something jobs, so I talked about all the different jobs that I got fired from and stuff like that. So I didn't talk about dating women, but I didn't talk about dating men.
So
like,
dating aspect just was nice.
I didn't talk about dating at all. Yeah. I didn't talk about my sexuality at all. I didn't like try to portray a straight dude, but I didn't talk about being a gay dude because I wasn't out.
So were you not out professionally, but out personally, or did you?
I wasn't out at all.
At all.
Yeah, on any scale. I came out when I was 25.
How did that happen?
So I was supposed to come out. I had a plan. I was supposed to come out. My mom was supposed to come to one of my shows, and my mom didn't know I was gay. I mean, I talk about it now, but she probably knew I was gay, like in retrospect, but I didn't physically tell her. So she was supposed to come to one of my shows, and she never seen me do stand up. So I figured, all right, I'll come out and seriously, we do stand up, 2 birds, 1 stone, blah blah blah. And then she had a stroke. Oh. The show was on Saturday. She had a stroke on Friday. I did the show anyway because I needed money. And then she died on Monday. Oh my God. So she never got to see the show. She never got to do the thing. And then probably like 6 or 7 months later is when I came out. Oh, I don't know exactly the timeline, but like it was a bit after that. Like maybe 4 months later. I don't know if I can do the math, but it was sometime after that is when I decided I should come out, blah, blah, blah. And then I started doing jokes about it and touring and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So that's how that happened.
Oh, sorry about your mom.
That's okay, dude. It was 6 years ago now. So.
Yeah. But when we talked earlier, you have siblings, so
I do. I have a brother, and I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters.
So did any of them know before?
No.
Okay.
I mean, but no one knew I didn't physically tell anybody. Until I came. When I came out, it was like everyone knew. I think there was a group of friends that knew before I came out. There was like a group of like 3 or 4 friends. Sure. But then everybody knew when I decided. So it wasn't a huge deal. I mean, people made it a big deal, but most people didn't care. Most people I wasn't like one of the people who were like in the closet like deep. I was just like, I didn't say I was gay, but people were like when I told people, most people were like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, well, here we are.
Yeah.
So. There's some people sometimes, almost like when I've seen people that have been worked so hard to bury it that then they come out almost like angry beforehand, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. So that was not you. You were
no, I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't hiding it well at all. Like I wasn't trying to do sports stuff. I wasn't trying to like be a jock. I wasn't trying to like date all these women. Like I was just regular whatever. And then I was like, all right, I should probably, by the way, also gay. And then everyone was like, okay, cool. And then
that was that.
Yeah.
Do you think in any way, like, did coming out like did it make your act better or enhance it?
I think it made it. A lot of people say that. Most people say that. But I don't think me being gay made me funnier. I think being honest made me funnier.
Yeah.
So the fact that I was able to talk about what I want to talk about, that I can actually be myself. Yeah. And like, because people can tell. The audiences can tell bullshit, whether they know why. Like subconsciously, if you're up there lying, they pick up on that. Like if you're on stage talking about how hard it is for you to date and blah, 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 and they're looking at you like, oh, you're gorgeous, and you probably don't have a problem dating, then it's not going to come off as genuine, and they'll be able to sense that. Sure. Some of them, and it just won't go as well. But if you're on stage and you're honest and about, et cetera, I feel like that really vibes with people. So I feel like once I came out, I was able to be more honest. And even if I wasn't talking about being gay, I could just be myself more generically, and that would mesh with people.
Yeah, it's almost like there's no fear. Like you have no fear of like accidentally like slipping or saying something. Or,
don't go there. Like
right. Yeah.
It's when we've seen you perform twice now, and the first time, back to what you said earlier about like there was, I don't know how many African-American Black comics there were previously.
There was like 9 maybe. If I sat down and named them, it's probably less than 9, but I'm just going to say 9. There's not a lot.
Yeah. And when we were at that first time, and I saw you doing things I had never seen anyone else do before.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is amazing. Like
thank
you for what you do. And there's a bit that kind of like a little history lesson. Like they said, like a man could never run like a 5-minute mile or whatever it was, and then a guy did it.
Yeah,
and then like a year later, then somebody did like, it's maybe not exact, ran in like 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah,
and it's just the way there's something about like that glass ceiling that sometimes has to be shattered or shown.
Especially in the industry, because it's like because sometimes people paint gay people as just like they give us a certain, especially gay Black people, they give us a certain like what you're able to do. So they've been like, okay, you guys can do fashion, or you guys can do modeling, you guys can do drag, and you can do, then that's pretty much it. That's what you guys are able to do. So as a gay person from the South, I'm like, all right, well, I don't know anything about fashion. I can't dance. I don't do any of that stuff, so I don't know. And like, there's never been. I mean, those, like I said, it's getting better now, but like you don't see us on TV unless we're portraying a stereotypical, over-the-top, flamboyant gay person. Which that character is great, and some people do amazing at that character, and it's funny and it's great. But it's like that's the only way that the people see us. Unfortunately,
and totally unfortunately, and I know like there's obviously been more white representation on television for gay men. And I remember like in the 80s being at my grandparents' house, and they had a television upstairs that had an antenna. You could get PBS, and that was about it.
Yeah.
And there was that, like, Are You Being Served? It's a store in the UK where there was like the effeminate, like Mr. Jeffries, that, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then they kind of like, there was foreshadowing about, they didn't really say what he was, but there was all these jokes. And I was like, but I like guys, but that's not me though.
That's how they portray. That's why when people see, like, because I hear this a lot, and it's like it's like, that's so sweet, but it's not a compliment. Like when people will be like, "Oh, you're so straight acting," I'm like, "Well, that's not a compliment at all. Actually, that's the opposite. I don't want there's nothing like feminine and masculine doesn't equate gay. Like you can be feminine and like the straightest person ever,
right?
And you can be like super masculine and still be gay as hell. It's like that's not a thing. But like I've done shows and I've talked to people like, oh yeah, you don't seem gay. I'm like, well, that's because we're not sleeping together. Like there's no like that's not a compliment. And I know that's what you're trying to say, as if like I'm trying to aspire to be straight, but it's like that's really, you're doing the opposite by saying that. Yeah. But it's because the media portrays us as being very flamboyant and very like, because they consider flamboyant to be weak, which is why those sexist as hell. Yeah. But like they consider feminine to be weak, so then they consider gay men to be feminine, so then they consider our gay men to also be weak.
Right. Yeah.
It's like a domino effect.
Totally. So I was just rewatching an interview with Billy Porter talking about like him like wearing like a dress, and he was basically talking about the same thing and saying that when he feels like he's going to wear a dress, he's going to wear a dress. And part of the negative connotation to it is that that's what women wear. And when a man wears a dress, then you're mimicking a woman and you're then less than. So, I mean, it just becomes, I think it's a bigger conversation, you know, and just, it's something that I think we deal with as gay people or people of the community where we're not positively portrayed always in the media.
Yeah, and it's toxic as hell. And then it gets even more toxic when like gay people do the same thing that straight people are doing. Like, I'm only into masculine men. I'm like, all right, if you are, that's fine, but you don't have to say that.
Right.
Just only talk to men.
Right.
Like, why does your profile have to say mask for mask and stupid shit like that? It's like, if you're only into masculine men, then just talk to masculine men.
Yeah. Right.
Like, no one's gonna like. You don't have to make it open. You don't have to tell everyone or dismiss people who aren't masculine. Like, I'm not. Like, that's the stupidest shit on the planet. Like, I get it if you're only into what you're into, but you don't have to objectify and downplay people who you aren't into. Like, that's stupid. Like, that's because in that case I'd be treating women like shit because I'm not into women.
Right.
But I'm not running around like being rude to women. Like, it's like, if you're not into something, that's fine. Move over. But like, you don't have to publicly tell everyone that you're a closet homophobe. Like, that's unnecessary.
Right. What have you found? Sort of the same thing. I guess we're talking about dating websites, or dating apps, right? So have you found the same thing to happen where people have you encountered any racism on?
I was talking to Godfrey about this. Yeah, I've encountered a lot. So dating apps across the board, straight, gay, whatever. It's just dating apps across the board are better for white people. It's I wouldn't say it's pretty much made for white. I think statistically, I think they said the people who get the lowest matches on dating apps, and this might not be true, so someone should fact check me because I've heard this and I don't think it's true. But I think it's Asian men and black women. I think get the least amount of I'm not sure if someone wants to Google it and then text me and be you're wrong, but I think it's something of that. I think it's something like that.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's just white people get so, and then people put stuff in their bios not into black people or no Asians or no, and it's dude, if you're not, first of all, to disregard a whole race of people, that's racist.
That's horrible.
To say that you're typically attracted to a certain race, that's fine. If you're typically attracted to white dudes, that's fine. But don't disregard an entire race.
Right.
As if you fucked everyone in that race and oh no, I fucked the whole race and all of it's bad.
Yeah.
That doesn't even make any sense.
No.
And if you have, and the thing is, what people don't understand is you don't have to list your preference. You don't have to tell people you're not. Yeah. Don't swipe.
Right.
If you're not into black dudes, don't swipe right on a black dude.
Right.
Or don't message a black dude.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we're both fine.
Right. Yeah. And then what's the difference if somebody messages you?
Yeah.
And it's okay, then
and then
don't respond.
Yeah. And if someone messages you, look at his profile, I'm he might be cool. And then talk to, or message him and be no thanks, dude, not my type.
Whatever.
Right. I have a friend back home in the Midwest, and really handsome guy, works out, could walk around West Hollywood and be total eye candy, kind of a thing. But he's also intelligent too. He's very smart. And when I met him 7 or 8 years ago, through a mutual friend who happened to be gay, I was like, well, wait a minute, this guy's not gay, and he's hanging out with all these there was a lot of people that in town be oh, is he gay? No, he had a couple experiences with gay men, that were cool, and so he would be brought around to these parties a lot of times as kind of the one straight guy that was there.
Yeah.
And people would hit on him, and one of his friends was like, well, you just tell them no thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talked about it. We had actually a serious conversation. He's and he's obviously some people, there's a whole thing of, I'm going to turn him gay, whoever turned, no one turned me gay.
That's not a thing. Right? I have a joke about it on stage, but that's not a thing.
Yeah.
It's if you're able to be turned gay, then you're gay. It's simple as that. And it's and if you're scared of that, and if you're scared that someone's going to turn you gay, then you have to find out what's wrong. Not what's wrong, but you have
there's some other
something
questions
that you got to figure out something yourself. You're clearly interested in men, and you're scared that someone might pique your interest. Yeah. Because I've been around women my whole life, and I've never been I can't hang out with this girl. She might turn me straight. There's no woman who's going to make me try to that's not a thing. So if you're comfortable with your masculinity as a man and you're comfortable with your straightness or whatever, you can be around a slew of gay people and just live your life accordingly. So I don't understand it. But also I think there's a stigma that I think it's bad I feel like it's more in the people of color community that people think that if you hang around gay people, you're also gay. I'm friends with most of my friends are straights because I do comedy full time, and most comics are straight men. So I'd say 80% of my friends are straight men, and a lot of times I'm the only gay friend. And people you can tell that people if people will be weird about me having all these. They'll be oh, you're friends with Akeem. I've heard people say shit that are just oh, why do you hang out with him? Are you gay? And they'll make all these stupid ass jokes. I'm dude, you can hang out, you can be friends with whoever you want. That doesn't influence your sexuality. That's not how this works. I'm really good friends with my buddy Godfrey, who's the straight, dom black dude. And we've been friends for 2 or 3 years now. And it's there's never been any type of animosity between us because I know there's nothing, we're friends. He's 100% straight. I'm 100% gay. There's never going to be any crossover. I'm not trying to get with him. He's not secretly gay. We're just good friends that can just be regular ass friends. And the thing that people say about this, and you could tell by his videos, because he has a very popular podcast called In Godfrey's Choice. He gets thousands of he gets like
I've seen some episodes.
yeah, like 300,000 views or whatever. And like whenever he has me on or we talk about stuff like that, there'll always be people in the comments who will comment like, "Oh yeah, I can't wait for Godfrey to come out," or "Your Godfrey has to be down low." Oh, Godfrey's like just because me and him were good friends, they're just like, okay, if Godfrey's friends with a gay person, and Godfrey has a few gay friends, and they're like, well, Godfrey has friends with these gay people, he must also be gay. And I'm like, that's the stupidest shit on the planet. Like, he's just a good person. He doesn't care about someone's sexuality. He could be friends with whoever.
Well, he's just looking at you as a person.
Yeah.
Just you, who you are, who Akeem is. Nobody else, like no labels, no nothing else. Nothing else about you. He just.
But people see friend. Like if you look at his page, whenever I'm on his podcast and whenever we happen to be talking about anything gay, it never fails those people in the comment section that are saying that shit.
It's interesting. I mean, that's like going back to what we were talking about earlier. That's why for you to be touring and to be in those like smaller towns, those smaller clubs. That's why it's important that you're doing that work right now or when you can do that work again, because it's your influence on the people. Because the people who are making those comments, they don't have gay friends, right? Or they don't. They haven't been exposed to.
The only view of gay people is the media, and the only media, unfortunately, I wouldn't say the only. It's getting a little bit better, but for the most part, the media for gay men are like we play stereotypical roles. We play the gay best friend. We play the overly flamboyant hairdresser. We play all these other roles, which are important roles, and they're actually a bunch of really funny, hilariously talented gay people who are in those roles.
Yeah,
but that's not it. Like we're so much more than those roles. But honestly, I was talking to a friend about that. But that's how every marginalized group is played up until something changes. Like because for the longest time, they had only black people were in TV were like maids.
Yeah.
They were maids or they were thugs. Or they were gangsters.
Right.
For the longest time, that's how it was for people in Black Hollywood. Like you were a gangster, you were a drug dealer, you were a maid, you were a baby mama, you were this, that, and the other thing. Right. And then eventually it got better, and it's like, okay, you can be just a regular person who happens to be black. You can be just a regular character, and we just haven't got there with gay people yet.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of like anytime you see like a gay movie or it still always focuses around. Like,
sexuality,
or like a gay issue, like a gay community issue. It's not like just seeing, gay people living sort of.
There's some shows where it's like the character's gay and it doesn't drastically change the character at all. Which I think that's how shows should be in general. Because there's too many. There's 1,000 coming out movies, and they're important. But it's like that story's been beat to death.
Right, totally.
Like there's all those Mormon stories where it's like you came out, your parents didn't love you, like we get it, and it sucks that still happens, and it does happen, it's important. But it's like if that's the only story you're telling, that's the only thing they're gonna think about us.
Right.
Is that's the only thing they're gonna think. It's like, okay, you're gay, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, dude, we're just like there's so many other stories you can tell us. Stop telling that one story.
Well, it's not even like telling stories. It's just showing what our everyday life looks like.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not even, I think it's beyond like a story. It's just like, I just want to see like, what does like two guys married, like what does their everyday look like? Is it funny? Is it interesting? And I know like from Jeff and I, from our, Instagram and social media stuff that we do, like we do get a lot of interaction from people because I think it like we're shedding like a little bit of like light on like what it is. And I think in some way, shape or form, it's just kind of showing like, we're just like everybody else. Yeah. So I think that it's important that eventually that shift, comes into play.
Yeah, I think it will. I think it's just going to take, everything takes time. It's just going to take forever. And then unfortunately, the way stand-up works is unfortunately for marginalized group, there's one big star of that group.
Right.
And then nothing else matters until there's another big star. Like for instance, for right now, the big black female is Tiffany Haddish, who's amazing, who I've worked with before, and she's like the nicest person on the planet. But like right now, that's the style that they're looking for, loud, in your face. And that's who she is as a person. Like off stage, she's the same exact person. Like she's not phony at all. That's 100% who she is as a person. But like that's the person, that's what they're looking for now. They're like, all right, sassy black women is in style, and then no other type of black, it seems like no other type of black woman they even want to see in meetings. So it's like, oh no, we already have Tiffany Haddish. Yeah. Meanwhile, they have Amy Schumer, Whitney Cummings. They have a slew of white women who are similar but yet different, and they're all doing great. But it's like, oh no, we only want to see.
Which is interesting. Like, there's layers to this, so that's why it's important that the people in the writing room are also representing different stories as well too.
Yeah.
Because this has been written, who's like, oh, we're just going to replicate this, and this is.
It's almost like I hate to say it this way. It's like almost like a formula, right? That they have down, right?
Yeah, it is. And the thing that sucks about it is like the entertainment won't be diverse until the people booking it are also diverse,
right? Yeah.
But unfortunately, everyone who's in the industry booking is like old straight white men, and that's why everything is written the way it is, because like that's how they see gay people. They see gay people as overly flamboyant. So like, all right, we're gonna book. Like they don't know any better.
Yeah.
But it's like the only way to change things is to put people in charge of booking the shit. You have to you have to have minorities in charge of booking.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you're just gonna get the same thing over and over.
So I feel like do you watch like a lot of Ryan Murphy's shows, like The Politician, Pose? Like
I love Pose.
Pose is amazing.
Pose is phenomenal.
So, but to what you're saying with that, I think what's interesting, what I think I sort of resonate with a lot of those shows is because they're really great at, I think, first bringing in whoever the characters are. Like they bring a diverse cast in to begin with, and then whoever those people are, those are the folks that are in the writing room. So if there's a trans character on the show, there's trans people in the writing room.
Yeah.
And I think like on The Politician, one of the characters is trans, but nowhere is it ever brought up that the character is that, and it's like that person is just there, and like that is like, to me, that's like a great example of like, this person is part of the fold, and it's just there. So
if their sexuality or their race or whatever doesn't play a part in the role, then there's no point in bringing it up.
Totally.
Like I don't think it's necessary. I think let them be whatever character they are, and oh hey, this dude's gay. That's cool.
Yeah. I think it's just a good. To me, it's like a good example of like a roadmap of like maybe what's to come.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's getting better. I think they just need to get in the mindset that would differ. We're not all the same. Yeah. So like what's happening now? Like I always talk. There's like the touring black comics now, the ones that are like doing big or like it's Jabuki's doing really well. I'm thinking of men, Dwayne Perkins, who's phenomenal. Samson McCormick. Renee, and I'm gonna miss some, but there's like 7. There's probably a few more that I'm completely missing. But the problem is like when one of them make it big, then they're gonna just focus on that one person, because like in their mind, they're like, if we have one gay black person, why would we need another? You guys are the same.
Yeah.
So like that's how they view, like that's not the same way they used to view black comics. Like when Eddie Murphy was big, they were like, okay, we got Eddie Murphy. Well, why do we care about Martin Lawrence or Chris Rock? Well, we already got one.
Right.
So that's how they view it, unfortunately. They're like, so once they find their gay black dude, like, all right, well, we have this guy. Why would we need another gay black person? We already got, you guys all live the exact same lives, right? So why would we need another person if we got him?
Yeah.
We got him. So it's a conundrum. But I mean, I do think it's moving in the right direction, because like the fact that I can name so many gay black comics, like 10 years ago, I couldn't name any.
Yeah.
Besides Wanda Sykes.
Do you ever feel like that part of your work is to start showing those people, sort of the people in charge, that we are all not the same? I have been to meetings and I've talked about it publicly and stuff. I feel like it's my job. Unfortunately, I'm just trying to make it in the industry. Yeah.
I just happen to be a double minority, so it just happens to be harder that I'm doing all this extra shit.
Yeah.
But that's because there's been no one before. Not to say no one before me has done it, because there are some comics who've been doing it longer than me, who've put in way more work, like Samson McCormick, for instance. And I couldn't thank them more. I think they're phenomenal. But unfortunately, there's no one who's broken through the ceiling yet. There's no gay black comic that's a household name.
Yeah.
Titus maybe, but he's not. Mm-hmm. He's not a stand-up. Yeah. And straight people still don't really know who he is.
Right.
Yeah. So like, there's still none. I would say there's some that are close, but there's none.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so it's like we're all just working away at it, and I think I'm helping, but at the same time, I'm doing all that I can. This is all that I know. Like I have to do it.
Yeah.
like, I wish I didn't have to do it. I would love if there was already a super famous gay black dude who I could just like ride his coattail and be like, hey, remember the other guy? I'm like the other guy. But unfortunately, there's no other guy. So I have to do all the groundwork myself, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
When you were growing up, was there anyone that you really kind of were able to, not so much coattails, but to be able to be like, to look up and be like, oh, maybe that's what I could be, or maybe this looks like fun to me, or
no, but
that's honest.
But no one like me per se, just because like I didn't grow up watching, because I thought I would never come out. Like, and honestly, I thought I'm not gonna come, because the way people treated gay people in Florida, in the small town I was in, like everyone, and there was like one openly gay guy in my two openly gay guys in my high school. Everyone was mean to him. Teachers were even mean to him sometimes, and like everyone treated him like there was this couple that was walking on the street like holding hands, and like people at the bus was like yelling at him. It was just really, really toxic and homophobic. And I was like, well, if that's what gay people go through, I'm never.
Yeah.
Why would anyone come out?
Right.
Like, that's just how I felt. I'm like,
I think I'm going to choose this.
Yeah. Which is why I have a joke about it. I'm like, yeah, no. Why would I choose to be? I'm like, I'm already black. Like, I'm black, but also there's another thing. Like, no, there's two things. Like, I might be Muslim because of the beard. Like, I've never. So like, when people say that you chose to be gay, it's the stupidest shit on the planet. But so I didn't think I was going to come out at all. Like, I never thought I'd come out. I just thought, I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm just going to have to marry some woman and have kids I don't like and whatever. So I never even thought about it. My favorite comic growing up, which whenever I say this to people, especially comics, are like, oh, I can see that. My favorite comic was Cat Williams. Like, coming up, he's phenomenal. Well, nothing alike, obviously. But he's so funny, and this is the way his whole character, he's just amazing.
Yeah, I can see that makes. I mean, he was his own thing.
Yeah. So I've always saw that. I'm like, that's amazing. But I never saw me doing that. I just always I always thought he was phenomenal for what he did. But I don't think I've seen anyone on stage that was like me. That I was like, hey, that's gonna be me. Yeah. Unfortunately, because like I said, the only person. But when I started, the only person like 10 years ago, the only gay black person on that was doing stand-up was Wanda Sykes. But and even then, lesbian, as far as stand-up is concerned, there's more successful lesbians in stand-up than there are gay men. Because so when a lesbian is considered masculine, and masculine is considered a plus. So that's why there's more gay women in stand-up that are like household names. Like you got Ellen and Rosie O'Donnell and Wanda Sykes and all these people, because if you're a lesbian, that's considered like a masculine lesbian, then that's a plus, because like, oh, okay, that makes you more manly. Right. We love men here. That makes it a plus. As far as gay people, if you're gay, you're considered more feminine. So I think there's way more successful lesbian comics than there are gay men. So like I remember seeing Wanda and I was like, oh, that's amazing. But I never thought there'd be like, I've never saw myself, because there's no, unfortunately not.
Do you feel like now that you've been doing this for 10 years, 5 years out, do you feel like that there's another like a younger generation of comics that are maybe like aspiring to do what you're doing?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I haven't. I mean, every time I go on the road, I try to go to open mics and try to like see who the upcoming people are. Yeah. And yeah, I think there's a lot of great comics coming up. There's a lot. But I mean, 10 years in the grand scheme of things isn't super long.
No.
Right.
I mean, it feels like forever, but it's I know comics who've been in the game 15, 20, 30 years, and it's like 10 years is nothing. So I think I started when I was 19, so I'd like to think that there are more people coming up. I think there are. I mean, I think more people are. I think now that there's more visibility, like there's more diversity in stand-up. It's not just the same 7 people. Now that you can see different takes and different viewpoints,
right?
And they're making money, so the industry's like, oh, you can make money doing that. Okay, well then we'll book more people like that.
Yeah.
So then now other marginalized people are seeing this, like, okay, well then that means I can do it, and then more people are trying it. So therefore, in theory, there'll be more. In a few more years, there'll be more diversity and more. I mean, that's the hope. Who knows?
When you're getting ready on stage, do you have a standard thing that you do for yourself, like a traditional or?
I listen to music, but I don't have a playlist. I just listen to whatever gets me hype at the moment. I usually have I have a necklace with my mom's ashes in it. that has like a microphone on it. So I'm if it's an important, I always wear that show. If it's a paid gig, I wear that show, or if it's like an important show, I wear it. But if it's just a random show, I don't care. But if it's like an important show to me, or it's like a big paid gig or whatever, I usually wear that necklace. And that's it. I write my set list down. I never do that list. I just always
Is there a fallback on it?
Yeah, I never even do the order. I just write it down because like in my head I'm like, I gotta write down all these jokes, and then I completely don't use it.
Out of curiosity, does the audience kind of dictate where it goes a little bit?
For me, it does. Some people who are just very anal about it, no pun intended, and they'll just be like, this is all the stuff I'm going to talk about, and they'll just do all that, and that's great. But I've always gone with the flow. I always open with the same stuff. Like I normally have like the first 3 or 4 minutes is like similar, and then the rest is just like depends on what happens in the audience and what happens with people or whatever. But I don't like having a list set in stone because then it gives you can't be fluid with it. Yeah. So I'd rather just have some ideas that I'm going to talk about and then see where they go.
So a lot of the work that you do is there a lot of preparing that you have to do just to be able to get up there and just kind of like go on the fly like that?
Nah.
No? It just
that's how I've always written. Like I've never been this person who can sit down and write a joke. I wish I could, because I know so many people who are amazing at that, who can sit down and write a whole set and it's phenomenal. And I just can't do that. So I write ideas. I'm like, that's a funny idea. Then I'll get on stage and say that idea. And then the way my mind works is it'll automatically form it into a joke. And like recently it's been I've been able, and once you start doing that for so long, you're able to get the joke way faster.
Yeah.
Like when I first started, it would take me weeks and sometimes months to be able to turn that idea into an actual setup punchline type joke.
Yeah.
But now that I've been doing it for a decent amount of time, and when I'm working the road a lot, usually I can think of a joke and post it on Facebook, and then do it on stage, and the first time it just does really well, and then the second time, and then by then it's just in my act now. So that's just how I was always written. I was never able to sit down and type and write out stuff, which I wish I could do that, because some people just sit down and type up scripts and write up all this great stuff. And it's like I think I have ADD. So if I sit down and write, I'll just nothing, everything will come into my mind except for what's supposed to be in my mind.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I'm not able to do that.
It's kind of an interesting process. It's kind of like and it works for the way you like to work. So it works for you.
Yeah, it does. It's back when we were able to do regular stand-up. So
it'll come back again soon.
I hope so.
Yeah.
When you travel, do you get inspiration for some of your material?
Yeah, I talk about traveling a lot. Yeah, crazy stuff happens on the road all the time.
A lot.
So people come up to you after shows, especially if you're different from the whole demographic, and they say just wild things to you because they think that they are able to say these things. It's like, it's so stupid. Like this lady came up to me after the show. This was in Appleton, Wisconsin, at the Skyline Comedy Club, and she came up to me after the show. She's like, "Oh my God, I loved you so much, even if you're black." And I'm like, that was the sentence you didn't have to say. Like, right. You didn't have to do that at all. You could have just said, "I liked you." And then her husband was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. She loves black people." I'm like, you're not making this any better.
Walk away.
And then he just gave me money. And because I'm like, "Do you want a thing?" He's like, no, that's just for you. I'm like, all right. And he just stormed off. Like drunk, and I'm like, that was, and then people after will like apologize. I'm like, dude, it's totally fine. Like, I don't care.
You know, sometimes you have to hear yourself out loud.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't take offense to that stuff because it's like, I know what they meant. And it's like, even though it's ridiculously terrible and racist, what you just said to me, but like, I'm aware that you're trying to be nice, right. And you're just not used to interacting with a person of color at all. So you just panic and say, like, I have people come up to me after shows like, "Oh my God, I love gay people." I'm like, well, that's cool. You didn't have to tell me that though. Right, like, if you felt the need to tell me that, that makes me think you don't. Like, why are you telling me this?
Do you feel like maybe people that are in those like smaller towns or smaller communities, maybe because they don't
they're trying to, exactly.
It's almost
they're trying to compensate for it.
Right. So, or they're like trying to figure out how to express their,
they just want, they want to let me know that they're on my side.
Yeah.
And they want to make me feel safe, which they don't think that if they just treat me like a normal person,
right,
it'd be fine. Like, I don't have, like, but they don't think that. So they think I have to tell him that he's okay here. I have to tell him that blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, you don't. I know you like me. You laughed at all my jokes. You paid to see me. You're buying my t-shirt. You're giving me money. Like, you're speaking to me after the show. Like, I'm aware that you're a fan of me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you're racist or homophobic, because otherwise you would have left on my show. From the moment I stepped on stage, I'm like, oh, I can't be behind this,
right.
you'd have left. So clearly you don't have those ill intent towards me.
Right.
Well, so just like leave and give me my or take a picture or follow me on social media or give me a hug or do whatever you want to do. But like, you don't have to justify your existence, just like I shouldn't have to justify mine.
Yeah. Right.
Well, and when I said earlier about like, having to hear herself, honestly, it wasn't from a place of condescending, because I know with some of the guests we've had on the show that I've had a few friends that identify as non-binary. Yeah. And I will like say, hey guys, or use a pronoun that's not appropriate. And I was talking to somebody recently, and they were like, well, if you kept doing it, he's like, they said I may have to get my flog and start flogging you every time, because sometimes you just gotta hit somebody. Yeah. But when it's when you're trying, and sometimes I have to make mistakes, and sometimes I hear myself, I'm like, oh wow, that sounded very racist or sexist, and it's like something needs to change here. Yeah. I was on a farm for about 7-8 years, and I had some really wonderful 2 hours outside Chicago, and Anthony was in the city, and I would come back into Chicago like on the weekends, and I would say some things, and he's like, Jeff, he's like, you can't, and I, when you're around something, at least for myself, it's so much back to what you're talking about, like experience, like I would even code shift like pronouns in front of some of these people, like about who, and I would say, oh, I'm going to go see her, like back in the day, instead of saying him. Yeah. Because I was afraid what they were going to say about me. And I think that when we're trying to make progress and to be able to create a safe place to be like, oh wait, that's not like, let's have a conversation about this instead of, because everything is so polarized, where you've got like Fox News over here, and then like maybe CNN. I'm trying to think of whether it's more like farther left, but where it's like it's so dualistic.
But the thing is, most people are in the middle.
Yeah,
like people exactly don't understand that. Most people in the middle. Like when I play these places, like because I was doing a show in Springfield, Illinois, and I did radio for the show because I was headlining, and they were like, "Hey, you talk about being gay a lot on radio." I'm like, "Well, you booked a gay dude," and also it was like Nationally Coming Out Day, so of course I'm going to address it on Nationally Coming Out Day. Why would I not make a joke about that? Yeah. And he's like, "Well, I just don't want people thinking that we have that we're like." I'm like, "Dude, no one we're in Springfield, Illinois, no one thinks that this is a progressive gay comedy club. You've booked 0 gay comics. You've been open for 12 years. I'm the only gay comic you've booked. Believe me, no one thinks that." Right. And he was like, well, he's like, well, I just want your show to go well. I don't want people. I'm like, dude, I've been doing this for a while now. I've played cities like this. It's going to be fine. And then he asked me, he's like, well, he asked me this. He's like, hey, can you be less gay on stage? I'm like, well, that's not a thing I'm going to do. But like, he said that to me, and I'm like, okay, cool, dude. But like, it just rubbed off my shoulder because like I've had this before. So I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, whatever. And then I went on stage and did my regular ass show and did very, very, very well. And then he got on stage, and this made me mad, because then he got on stage and he was like, hey man, keep it going for Akeem. You guys really loved him. I'm like, yeah, woo. They're like, yeah, he's one of the edgiest comics we've had here. And I'm like, I'm not edgy at all. I just talk about sleeping with men. Like, I'm not an edgy comic. And then he replied, then he said, he's like, here at such and such comedy club, we don't care about sexual orientation. We just book funny people. I'm like, motherfucker, you just told me to be less gay. Wow. An hour ago, you told me to be less gay. But now that I did really, really well, you're patting yourself on the back for booking a gay dude. Yeah, that doesn't, like, that's stupid.
Behind the curtain.
And it's like I knew I would do well, and that's not me being cocky. It's just like I know these type of people, like they're not as homophobic and racist as the media wants you to think they are.
Yeah. And that's what you said there is brilliant.
Yeah, most people in the middle. So I mean, I get it, but it's like it's a lot of the times it's like they don't get experience to diversity. They're stuck in this middle of Greenberry, Wisconsin, or whatever. Like, they're stuck in this really small town, and they don't get acclimated to different types of people. So when they see someone that's different, they immediately they don't know how to react. They can't just treat you like a person. Like, oh no, but you're different. And they get like weird around you, and they start trying to say certain things. Or they start trying, I like rap too. Okay, that's cool. Like, they start to like all this stuff. I love Obama. I'm like, that's great, but like, you don't have to tell me these things. Like, we're just regular. We can just have a conversation. But I think the most interesting thing I had a joke about this. Everything happened in Wisconsin, but I was driving from Minneapolis, which is one of my favorite cities. I was driving from Minneapolis to Appleton and to do a weekend there, because I just did a weekend in Minneapolis. And I stopped at this random gas station to get like a Subway sandwich. Like, it was like a Subway gas station or whatever. And I'm standing in line, and this cute little white girl behind me, and she looks at me, and she looks at her mom, and she points to me. She's like, oh my God, Mom, he's brown like the people on TV. And it was the funniest thing ever. I'm like, oh my God, I'm her first black person. Like, she's never seen a black person until me. Like, I'm the first one. Like, this is so cool. Like, this is a lot of pressure because now I have to give her chips or something. Because like I want the first reaction to be good. Like, I want her to be like, black people are great. But like that literally happened. Like, someone actually, her mom's face turned red, and she was so apologetic. And I couldn't have. I'm like, baby, it's 100. It's fine.
Yeah,
I know where I'm at. I know the percentage of the town is like 2%. Like, I'm aware that that I'm not from here. Like, there's not black people in this town. I forgot the name of the town, but it's like, I'm aware. So it's like, I don't feel bad about it. And kids say whatever the hell they think. Mm-hmm. She's like 4 or something, so she's gonna say the first thing that comes to her mind, and they don't know how to whisper. Like, but don't be offended. Like, I don't care. It's fine. And then I made a joke about it or whatever when I got back to the town. But yeah, that's stuff like that happens all the time. But it's like when you're on the road and like, comics who work the road a lot can all tell you a slew of crazy ass stories, especially comics of like any like women or gay people or people of color. Like, they can tell you all these crazy stories because when in all these cities, whether it's like there's not a lot of people who look like us around, like, well, in these cities are surrounded by people, and it's like, and they can tell you're an outsider because they're like, well, there's only 2 black people who live here, and you're not one of them. So you have to be like, why are you in our town?
Yeah.
And for the most part, all the stories are like a fun story. Like, I've had some situations where I'm like, oh, I don't want to come back here again. But for the most part, it's all fine. Like, everyone, I get on stage, I do my show, people accept me, people like me, they buy me stuff, and then we go about our ways, or like we hang out at a bar or whatever. Because most of the time it's good. Because like I said, like most of the people in the middle, it's just like the media wants people to think that all white people are racist and all black people are thugs and all gay people have diseases. Like, they want you to think that everyone's in these boxes. Like, when you actually go out there and work the road, it's like, oh no, yeah, most people are just working Americans who are trying to get by. But the media doesn't want you to think that because it's not profitable.
Right. I know for myself back in Michigan, when I did really fully accept, like, come out and be my whole self, it wasn't like I was, carrying a pride parade, by myself down the middle of Main Street. But once I was like kind of like cool with myself, like, I realized, like, and then the people that I was kind of afraid maybe like I might lose as friends or me, I was like, oh, okay. Like, maybe there's some differences about politics and stuff like that, but we got to have like just a normal relationship with each other.
Yeah.
And where I think we're almost fed this narrative that we're all, either this or that,
because the media wants us to be in a constant battle with each other because that's profitable.
Yeah.
Like that's, unfortunately, that's more profitable than so that's the way they put it. Like, they make it seem like Democrats and Republicans, like, y'all, we're all in the same country. Like, why are we having this huge war against each other? I mean, I understand why we're having it because Trump's a maniac, but
that's those special times right now.
Yeah.
The Pope, it was like in the 60s or 70s, there was like a radical change in the Catholic Church, and they decided that like this whole like Protestants versus Catholics thing was no longer like the I could be getting the dates wrong, but they kind of like started to let go of that battle.
Yeah.
And they said that the Catholic Church, there's this guy Richard Rohr, and he talks about that the Catholic Church was actually stronger when we knew who we were against.
Yeah.
And now it's like our numbers have gone down because before it was like, oh, we're against the Protestants, and so let's unite together to be against something.
The difference.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And now today it's like, okay. So, I mean, I think if that's something we all learn something from that as well too.
Yeah, but I mean, when you think you're above somebody because of your sexuality or because of your race or because of your gender, it makes you feel better. And that's what these people are addicted to. These racist people, homophobic people, or sex people, they're addicted to feeling better because something that they were born, because you were born away. Because in your head you were born superior. Like, that's the whole mindset of white supremacy and shit like that. It's like, you think that you're better than somebody because of the way you were born. You were either born a man, or you were born white, or you were born straight, or whatever it is. You think because you were born this particular way that you are better than someone else. And that mindset makes you feel like you're better. And that feeling is good. Even though it's based in hate and it's fucking terrible, that feeling is good. And people don't want to let go of that feeling. And that's where it lies at.
And I would think almost that if you're benefiting from it.
Yeah. Well, of course. Yeah. Like, the system is made. Well, I mean, people don't want to say that they're benefiting, but if you guys made the system, of course you're going to make it better for you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like, if I make a car for me and then I make a car for you, the car made for me is going to be better. Like that's just, and it might not even be on purpose. It's just subconsciously you're going to make it better for yourself.
Yeah.
So subconsciously, even though I don't think this was subconsciously, I think they did this on purpose. But even if the founding fathers weren't super racist, which I mean they had slaves, but like even like of course they're going to make the system to be better for straight men, straight white men, because it's like it's your system. So of course you want it to be best for you.
Right.
But the people are forgetting the fact that the people who made the system were biased, and it wasn't made by diverse people. It was made by one group of people. So obviously those group of people are going to have a better time or better experience because the system was made for them. Has it gotten better? Yeah, of course, but it's still a fucked up
work
system.
to do. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do.
But a lot of people don't want to say don't see that because they don't see it as much as because people who don't experience it think it doesn't exist. Like people always tell me like, oh, racism doesn't exist anymore. I'm like, dude, I've been to a ridiculous amount of places. Alabama, Oklahoma, Nebraska. It does. It definitely exists. But you don't experience it because you're a white dude. Like that's like me saying sexism doesn't exist. I'm a man. I've never experienced sexism. If you're a straight person, if you say homophobia doesn't exist, it doesn't to you because you've never experienced. So it's like it baffles me when people say that this stuff doesn't exist. I'm like, well, that's because you don't experience it. But don't dismiss it. Like I would never dismiss sexism because I've never experienced it. I've been a man forever. I've never had to deal with that. But like I would never dismiss it. Like that's just the stupidest thing on the planet. But people can't step out of themselves and realize that other people have different experiences.
With like Black Lives Matters and stuff like that, that has been around for more than a minute, and now it's on a national level. You know, I mean, let's just call it what it is. It's because there's video footage.
Oh yeah,
right?
Exactly. They've been doing all this ridiculous stuff to us for years. Like it's been ridiculous. But it's like now that everyone has an iPhone and everyone is able to take video and everyone can share Facebook, YouTube, social media, et cetera, et cetera. Now it's blown up to this huge like thing that it's like, dude, it's worse than it's ever been. It's like, no. Not even close. It's just now that we all can share it and we can post videos and tag and tweet and blah, 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 blah. Now it seems like it's more, but it's in reality, it's less. But it's like now we could just see it. It's still a bad amount, but it's less compared to what it was 10 years ago.
So do you think now with more visibility that will help it be less, or do you think that it's just going to be a continuous problem until?
I would like to think that it would be, and I hope it will be. But the sad part is, a lot of people, the media is so you can Google anything to shoot your opinion, like if you like on paper, if you want to Google Trump and say he's the best president, he's better than all these presidents, you can Google a bunch of fake facts and be like, and just keep feeding you information about how great of a person he is. I mean, honestly, you can Google that stuff about Hitler. Like everyone knows Hitler's terrible person, blah, blah, blah. But if you look on Google and just cherry pick your facts, you can make Hitler seem like he's the best person on the planet.
Yeah, it's almost like sometimes having too much information at our fingertips is not a good thing.
It's like because people if people have a viewpoint, they just look for stuff to further their viewpoint.
Right.
They don't want to change their opinion.
Yeah.
They want people to agree with them. So they just look for a bunch of people who, like the people who use black people, who like the few black people who are against Black Lives Matters and blah, blah, blah. They'll use those people as talking points. Like, oh no, but they're black and they think that but they're black. But we don't want all of you black people who disagree with us to be right. But this one black person,
right,
who is on our side, we're gonna lift him up or her up and be like, this is the one.
Yeah.
We'll believe this one, but only because they believe what we believe.
Yeah. It also goes back to what we were talking about earlier too. So it's algorithms. So, and it's like, and again, it's like what's going to sell. So like if you're more, let's just say you're more pro Trump, right? So you're for him as a president. When you start doing like your Google searches, like eventually your browser is smart to cherry pick what
documents you're going to get.
What you're going to look at. So it just goes back to like, it's whatever sells is what we're seeing.
Unfortunately, everything's for sale in a matter of like some of these people who are spewing these, like supporting Trump and blah, blah, blah. A lot of these people, they might not even believe that shit.
Yeah.
But they just like, it's lucrative. Like to be a black Trump supporter, if you're in the entertainment industry, that's lucrative.
Sure.
Because there's not a lot of them. So they're looking for anyone. If you have a decent following, like, oh, I support Trump, they'll rake in money like that because like we can really polarize. Like if I was a Trump supporter, I'm a gay black man. I'm a gay black, and I love Trump. I'd be making a shit ton of money. Because because I just sold out. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gay, I'm black, and I love Trump. And I'm like, oh okay, put it on a bumper sticker, throw him on TV, get him an interview, have him shake Trump's hand. Like, dude, I'd be making a ridiculous amount of money right now just for selling out. Like, and there's people who do that, and they're like, well, I'm not talented enough to make money from my talent, so I might as well sell out and be like, hey, yeah, Trump is great, yeah, Black Lives Matter is a hoax and all this, and let me just read whatever you want me to read and then sign over the check and then
that's it. You know, when you see that, and you see also sometimes like where there's like the man who's got internalized homophobia who's out, but has a lot of internalized homophobia about themselves, and they're agreeing with things that are hurtful, harmful for their you know, and whether it's that black person or that gay person who's decided to cash in on that, you could just the depth and weight of who they are as a person. It's just you feel sorry for them, or at least I do. You know, it's it's like, oh man, like, and I just like to pause for a second. Like, I have friends that are conservative. I have friends that are more left, more right. And I think what we said earlier is that we're more in the middle than a lot of us will admit. But it's just not the narrative that gets sold to us. What gives you strength and inspiration now today?
God, nothing. Just end it there.
Today was not the day to ask that question. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week.
No, I don't know. I just love what I do as far as stand up, and I love creating. I don't know. I'd probably say my other comics, just other comics in general, just like a lot of my friends that are doing big things. Like our buddy Preacher who's just got signed for a sitcom on NBC.
Oh, cool.
My friend Mia, who bought me this dope ass shirt that I keep mentioning, her Comedy Central half hour just came out. So just a bunch of comics who are doing dope shit. Like from Paris, who's also a gay comic, gay black comic. She's amazing. Her album just dropped. I can't remember what it's called, so this is doing terrible for marketing. But her name's Paris Sachet. She's phenomenal. And just other people who are doing it and who are riding out and just doing dope things, even though the world's on fire.
Yeah.
So I'd just say other comics probably.
Cool.
So 10 years from now, where do you see yourself at?
God, I don't know. 10 years from now, where would I see I would like to be on a TV show. I always thought that would be cool. I've always wanted to be on a TV show just for the bloopers, because the bloopers seem to be so much fun. Like when you watch bloopers and like, oh my God, they had so much fun.
So much fun working.
Yeah. Like I had bloopers from the sketch that I did on LOL Network, Kevin Hart's network. I did some sketch on there. Though just watching those bloopers, I'm like, oh my God, that's great. So I've always wanted to be on a sitcom. I think that'd be cool. I'd like to have some albums out. And I was actually in the process of working on an album right now, but now obviously I can't because I can't tour, so I can't work on an album. What else? 10 years from now, so I'd be 40. Oh my God.
You're so young.
I'm 29, but yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'd be like with a dude, maybe. Who knows?
No. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
That all sounds good.
So everything comedy related, and then maybe a dude.
Yeah, a dude, right? Dude, yeah. You know, we'll get a career in a dude.
Yeah, we'll get a puppy, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it happens. Puppies are good.
Yeah,
you could probably hear our dog in the background right now.
Yeah.
Last question for a younger gay person who is thinking about pursuing a career in comedy. Any advice that you would give them?
Get out of your comfort zone. Don't just do the gay rooms. There's so many talented comics who are stuck in the gay rooms. Because they only do like the show that you saw us on, The Gays Are Us, which is a great show, but it's like you got to realize that's the only show they give us. Like as far as gay people, they give us that, they give us Rainbow Pop, they give us our nights, and it's like in their head they're like, well, we're booking diversity people. I'm like, what would be diverse if it was just a regular Tuesday and you booked a gay person?
Right.
It's not diverse to book all of us on one night. It's actually the opposite of diverse. You're literally, this is a detriment. Like you don't need it. Like they give us on, like for instance, they'll give us like Chocolate Sunday or Morbid Monday. Like they'll give us black nights and Spanish nights and women nights and gay nights. But it's like what would be actually diverse is booking us on a regular show and not calling it a gay show. Just call it a regular comedy show. And two of the people on the show happen to be gay or happen to be black or happen to be women or happen to be trans or whatever. But if you dedicate a whole night to it, it's counterproductive because you're just like, they're only good enough to perform on this one night when we market them as if it's some type of like event. And like those events are cool and they're fun and they pay well. And I don't mind doing them. But it's like that. But you get pigeonholed in that you're only doing those events. It's like we're only going to book you for gay stuff. It's Pride Month. We'll fill up your calendar, but then come July or whatever, or whatever, then it's like, well, you're back to working your ass off to get whatever you can get. So I would say to them is like, don't just play the gay rooms, don't just play the black rooms, don't just play. Go do your stand up everywhere and tour everywhere, and that's the only way to make money now anyway. But like that's how you get good, is if you're playing to a room of people who don't think like you, who don't feel like the same way as you, don't have the same ideologies, and you're able to make that room of people laugh.
Yeah.
Then just imagine what you're gonna be able to do with a room full of people who have the same experiences. Like if you can kill in a room full of people who don't know anything about you, then you'll be able to do well in front of a room that can actually relate to you. They can relate to the stories you're telling. They grew up gay. They're blah 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 blah. So my advice would be definitely play out of your comfort zone and don't just don't fixate on the fact that you're gay, and don't just talk about being gay. That's great that you're gay, but you're also a person. Like talk about everything about your life. And then if a lot of the stuff you talk about has to be gay, that's great, but don't fixate or focus on that, and don't pigeonhole yourself, because at the end of the day, they're only gonna make one super famous gay dude.
Yeah,
and that person doesn't exist yet. But whenever that person does exist, there's only gonna be one. So it's like don't focus, don't put all your eggs on that one basket or whatever that cliche is, because because if it's not you, then you're just stuck.
Yeah.
So I would say be diverse and get out of your comfort zone. That would be my unsolicited advice to any gay dude. Gay woman.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that is a great place for us to wrap up.
And follow me on social media at Akeem at Akeem Woods, AKEEM Woods.
We'll be sure to share that.
You can
too.
see the hitch sticks.
Yes, and then you'll have my phone number, because if you want it, it's on that video still.
And there's a lot, and that being said, there's a lot of other funny, great stuff that you've got on there as well too.
There's a bunch of videos of me coming out of a closet with a robe, and like there's a bunch of really ridiculous things.
And Akeem looks really good in a romper, just for those.
I do look adorable in a romper, and I'm probably going to get another one.
All right. Awesome.
Well, Akeem, thanks for being here with us. We
no
appreciate
problem. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been great.
Yeah. Akeem sure knows how to make us laugh. His message was a reminder to be yourself and don't be afraid to leave the comfort of what's familiar. To stay connected to Akeem, make sure you follow him on Instagram at Akeem Woods. Thanks for listening to this episode of Talk Out Loud. If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe, rate us, and share with a friend. You can also follow us on social media at Talk Out Loud Live. If you or someone you know has an inspirational story and a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to us on our website at www.talkoutloudlive.com. You can also get your official Talk Out Loud gear in our online store. Thanks again for listening, and remember to be true, be you, and to talk out loud.